the next hour is on illustrators and illustrations.
Yeah,
And this is super important for making sure that everybody can actually understand and see and gain the insights we all wanted them to have.
absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be hosting this hour of the 24-hour event on multi-scale illustrations and animations. This is prime 24-hour real estate. The 1 p.m. Day one hour is great. So I'm really happy to have this and happy to be joined by Rachel Bajema, Heidi Schlehlein, and Ushma Patel. And they are going to, this is actually going to be sort of a revisit of a panel that we did 2 years ago, but this time with Ushma Patel. And so that's wonderful to have her. They're all connected to the Human Reference Atlas project and all do different uh, types of work with that. And they'll tell us a little bit about that and introduce themselves a bit and what they do. And then afterwards, we'll have some time for some question and answers. So hopefully, is everybody here with me? Hello, welcome. Yes. Hi, Rachel. Great. Good to see you all. Hello. Hey. Hi, Heidi. Hello, Ushma. Wonderful. All right. So we'll start with Rachel. Let me pull up your thing here. Rachel Bajema is the owner and principal creative force behind Bajema Studios. Rachel earned her BA in Biological Sciences at the University of Southern California, Dornsife, and her MS in Biomedical Visualization at the University of Illinois at Chicago. She is a board certified medical illustrator and professional member of the Association of Medical Illustrators, and she is editor of the Medical Illustration and Animation Marketing Program and a proud printmaking member of Seattle Print Arts and Print Zero Studios. Rachel, when we talked 2 years ago, you were hoping to have more time to do more printing. Did that pan out?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's been kind of a different life phase for me the last 2 years, but I have been finding more time to do different things. Well, I'll show you my current passion, you guys. I'm making these little Christmas, I'm hand knitting Christmas.
Oh,
I'm always doing something weird. So if you see me on a meeting and I'm doing something with my hands, I'm making something weird that you can't look at.
it's yeah, that's
so
a great thing to do.
Not printmaking exactly, but I have been finding more time for creative work, and it's been really very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. For people in Seattle, I'm currently renting studio space back down at the Inscape building, which is where I started my printmaking journey. So it's like this cool old building downtown Seattle that used to be the intake point for all the immigration into Seattle. So it's a bunch of really beautiful historic old art studios, and it's been fun to spend more time with community members down there. It's really
That's great. Yeah. Awesome. Should I run the slide, the slides you have?
Oh,
or...
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have much about my personal work in there this time. I think I just have a general slide about our work for HCA. So my part, we've got 3 illustrators on the team currently, and my part is mostly doing these 2-dimensional functional tissue unit illustrations. And at this point, I get to call them interactive illustrations because they've been added to the new up and running HCA Explorer, which is part of the website. I've got a URL down here so that you can see these things in action, but now we are actually starting to use them for their intended purpose. The illustration goes up. There's a interactive menu where you can choose which functional tissue unit you're interested in looking at, and then hover over cell types and get information on the right-hand panel about the cell types. All of the biomarkers and data are being linked in as we get more and more tissue samples. So this illustration project really kind of is linking data to visualization, right? The last presentation was really interesting, and if you missed it, there was a part of it that a presenter was talking about. One of the ways that we're putting the atlas together is different ways of actually looking at the structures, and I feel like illustration is a really beautiful way to do that, a really useful way of looking at all the cell types together, right? So we're playing with different types of visualization, different ways of looking at things. You can see for the different scales of illustration, we're solving different visual problems, how to show the correct number of cells and distribution in different ways. So just a really interesting project and initiative to be a part of. And then Todd, if you go to the next slide here.
Okay.
There's just one more. So this is showing the actual, this is kind of now the native experience that you get in looking at the illustrations. And again, so here's our current published library on the left. For renal corpuscle, these are some of the cell types and biomarkers that are available currently. So we're linking, as those tissue data sets come in, the things that used to be put in the smoothie cycle where you get out, again, from the last presentation, it was a real fun update on the technology. Now, instead of just looking at, here's everything in the tissue block, in total, now we can really pull out like what exactly was a piece of that tissue sample and visualize it in different ways, So that's where we're at. This URL at the top is where you can find that work. All of these have at the bottom here, you can download. Everything is open source that we do for HCA, and you can download it, embed it in your website, look at the metadata, all of this. So that's a quick rundown on my work for the project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see, just trying to catch up here with the stuff. And then, so how about we go through the presentations and then we can come back and maybe ask some questions, and there's questions in chat and that, and we can talk together. And so the next person to present will be Heidi Schlehlein, and she is a versatile professional, passionate about medical art and graphic design. Her background spans ceramics, psychology, and pre-med studies, complemented by a master's in biomedical visualization. After graduate school, she worked as a medical modeler, creating anatomical models that were manufactured and sold throughout the world. And after a few years, she branched out into, actually, she's been doing this, freelance and graphic design, working for several ad agencies, and most recently, the University of Illinois, Chicago, as a digital and graphic designer. And she continues to make 3D printed medical models for researchers and pharmaceutical companies under her own company, SciSculpt. Welcome, Heidi.
Hi.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
Would you like me to run the slides, or would you like to?
You could. I kind of compiled them to answer some of the questions, so I don't know how. Yeah, but I can go through them all now if maybe that's.
Yeah, if that's, yeah, and maybe we can revisit some as we go.
Yeah.
Can you see everything? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm actually really into ceramics. I've always been, since high school, been doing ceramics, and this year I really try to make it a priority. So these are some of my recent pieces that I just made this year. I did a raku class, which is the middle picture, and then just one of my favorite pieces I made. And then just to explain the medical modeling that I've done, I have a lot of the models here. I think I showed this last time, but like the gout model, it's a little bit of a unique job because they're actually 3D printed and used and mass produced and used in doctors' offices and who knows where else. And they're all over my house, so it's a little different. And that's that osteoarthritic hand model on the slide. That was my first model that I ever made that was produced for sale. Yeah, and this sort of informs my work at IU because I do a lot of the 3D modeling for the RUI that researchers use to register their samples into. So yeah, 3D is kind of my thing. This is just something that we added to the HRA. I think it was maybe last year. I make a lot of models for the project, but I also make more that aren't always shown because we decided to add landmark models, which help researchers kind of orient themselves. And here's an example of the breast on the left-hand side. This is just all the models or anatomical structures that were like officially released. And then on the left-hand side, you see all the landmark models that I made in addition to the breast model to help researchers orient. So that's something new from last time. And I think it's kind of a cool feature. Yeah, so I wanted to show that. And then I try to put all of the new HRA models that I made on one slide, but I'm sure I've missed some because I don't remember them all. And a lot of them were just updates. Like I took the job over from Kristen Brown, and she, like I think she did the small intestines, but I added this measuring system to it. And then there's been other little edits like to the eye. Just, you know, researchers find that they need, oh, it'd be nice to have, I don't know, like an artery with the eye included so that we can orient this particular sample better, stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of little updates too. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. And then also, I think last year I did a Nature cover, or a cover for Nature journal, and Heidi suggested that I put it on Redbubble so you can have swag. So I thought I'd suggest it here. Why not? Like so, these are some of my favorite things, like the mug and the backpack and the t-shirt. If anyone's interested in getting
Yeah.
on something, I thought it was kind of fun. So yeah, and the Nature cover won an award of merit from the Association of Medical Illustration. So this at the last conference. So that was exciting as well.
Nice. Yeah.
So buy some stuff.
I have a dress with those two eyes on it and I wear it all the time.
Yeah, it's
Which
awesome.
one?
Yeah. See the magnet in the lower corner.
Yeah.
I ordered a black, this is a black dress and it's got two eyes on the front, two eyes on the back. It's very cool.
I wish I had a picture of you in it, Rachel. I wanted to add
I
it.
know. Oh, I should have put one on
Yeah.
the presentation.
Yes.
Pretty great.
Oops, sorry. There we go.
Oh yeah, and then I just wanted to bring up all of the models that I make are common license, so they're free to use for commercial or what would the other one be, educational, I guess, use. And I got another freelance assignment to work for a med legal lawyer here in Milwaukee, and I used the models that were created for the HRA and then rendered them out and added, of course, I added the fat and just some other important structures in there. And yeah, kind of use it as a base for these illustrations. Actually, these are mostly renders and then edited a little bit in Photoshop. But yeah, I did more, but these were the two that are like don't give identifying information in the case. So yeah, I thought I'd just share that these models, you know, can be used as a starting point for any sort of project.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so yeah, again, the last time that we talked, Heidi, you had just bought a house and were hoping to put a ceramic studio in your garage. Did that happen?
It did. Yeah.
Yes. Yay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
I have 2 wheels and a kiln, and I'm not firing in there yet because I need to get the electrical updated, which is quite a process. But yeah, I throw a lot at the local high school. It's like 2 minutes down the road, and
Okay.
The high school teacher is really big into ceramics, and he's a great ceramic artist. So we have a little group of community people, and we actually had a show a couple of weeks ago, and sold actually quite a bit of art. So
Nice.
yeah, it was inspiring. I'm inspired to do more with that. And I also want to include more anatomy with my ceramics. And I just got a set of carving tools. So I want to like carve hearts onto my bowls and mugs and, you know, or hearts, lungs, whatever. Just something different. So yeah.
Could you show us that foot again that you put up? I think you were small when it's a yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a gout foot. Just has different cutaways showing the different pathologies of gout. Yeah, kind of gory. Hope I never get gout.
Yeah.
Looks painful, but I don't think it ever really gets this bad. Like this is a gouty tophi, and I don't think, you know, they have medicine now and treatment. So yeah, you probably catch it before this point, but
okay.
Yeah. And then I have some other models. I think this is my hand that I had in the slide.
What's going on there with the?
Yeah, this is osteoarthritis. So just showing the joint basically degeneration. Yeah. And then it's mostly in that joint. And then here, these cutaways show, well, like this is the external. What you'd see is the light isn't great, but there's like 2 bumps. And this is degenerative, so everyone's going to get osteoarthritis pretty much. And usually you see these 2 nodules on the joint. And I remember my grandma had that, so it's kind of was fun to model. And then this shows what's going on. Like there's like these bone spurs, like growths, I guess, that grow at the joint surface from the friction. And this is a normal one. And then this is just a cutaway showing the, like, I guess the deformation of the joint. Yeah, the lighting's not great, but it's all there.
You can see it, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned that you have these all around your house, and I think the setup that you have behind gives us a good indication of what that might look like.
Yeah. The majority of them are here. They're not like, I have some like some teeth in my bathroom or something.
Waiting to spring out at your desk. Nice.
Right.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And then let me introduce Ushma Patel. She is award-winning biomedical designer, animator, and art director who uses creative problem solving and innovative storytelling to design beautiful and accurate visuals for biomedical and scientific topics. Ushma received a Master of Science degree in biomedical visualization at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And prior to this, she completed a Bachelor of Science degree in neuroscience with a concentration in neurobiology and a minor in chemistry from Dominican University. Ushma, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction, Todd.
Yes, great. I'm so glad that you could join us. Let's see, I can share the slide here.
Yes.
And did you want to say anything about, let me just get us on here.
Yeah, we only have one slide here today to showcase the vasculature of common coordinate framework animation. So let me just do a quick brief introduction. So over the past 2 years at Indiana University, I've had the privilege of working on several design and animation projects. And today we're sharing this 3D animation on the Human Reference Atlas Vasculature Common Coordinate Framework. And this is a 3D animation that we use to simplify the science behind this concept. And the VCCF is an innovative part of the HRA because it uses the network of blood vessels in the body to map all the cells, essentially creating a biological roadmap. And this video was created to provide an accessible overview of this concept. So Todd, can we play the video, please?
The Human Reference Atlas, or HRA, is a major international project bringing together over 1,000 scientists to build a map of all the cells in the human body. But how can we describe the location of something as small as a cell within the whole body? Thinking about how a package is shipped to a building might give us a clue. Although a building has latitude and longitude coordinates, the label lists a street address, which is the position along the road nearest to the building. In humans, blood vessels serve a similar purpose as roads, forming a connected set of pathways throughout the body to deliver oxygen and nutrients to cells. With a roadmap of the blood vasculature, we can assign each cell an address relative to the nearest vessel. This is the concept of the Vascular Common Coordinate Framework, or VCCF. Imagine driving down an interstate highway, which we can compare to one of your red blood cells coursing through a major artery. You exit into a city along a large avenue that branches into a network of smaller streets, which pass through different neighborhoods, just like your red blood cell is taking an exit to enter the vascular network of an organ, where arteries branch into smaller arterioles, passing through subunits of tissues. Finally, You pull into the narrow driveway of the building where you are delivering your package, just as the red blood cell squeezes through a capillary to supply oxygen to a nearby cell. Of course, blood vessels lack street signs. However, we can uniquely identify vessels through a combination of physical properties, such as diameter and branching angle, morphological features, gene expression, and other biomarkers. Altogether, this information forms the Human Reference Atlas VCCF, our roadmap for locating cells in the body.
Okay, so I'm just going to go into a little bit more depth of what my role was in this project. So my role was to transform the science into a compelling and engaging 3D animation. I designed all the visuals, animated the story, and I worked closely with my colleagues Griffin Weber, Kate Castillo, and Cody Borner to make sure that this video was scientifically accurate and aligned with our goals. So one of the main goals was to make the video accessible to not only a general audience, but also engaging biomedical researchers. And we use the visual analogy of how the truck driver uses a GPS to follow the streets to an address to deliver a package. Which is similar to how cells flow through the blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients to the whole body. The reason why we used a 3D animation modality alongside this visual analogy was to convey how complex this problem is in simple terms and to provide engaging visuals that show the magnitude of scales that were involved. And so, for example, the mini map that was in the corner of the screens during the analogy really helped illustrate by showcasing the cellular scale alongside the body scale simultaneously. And overall, this video has been instrumental in inspiring scientific teams to collect tissue data that's needed to construct this vasculature common coordinate framework. And I'm really thrilled to continue creating visuals that break down complex science like the VCCF in order to enhance understanding and spark curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a question I had, and this is particularly about this video, but I'd like to also extend it to Rachel and Heidi too, since this is the 24 hours on the multi-scale human. You know, it strikes me that there's so much shifting of scales in this video, from pulling out to the body to going very, very in depth. And then also at the same time, you have a split screen with the truck, and you have this.
Right.
And it's in a 2-minute period. How did you make it so that it wouldn't be just confusing or overwhelming? Because there's a lot of just stuff that's going on here, but yet it's super easy to follow, right? Was that a concern for you? Is that something you approached kind of consciously, or how was that a challenge for you?
Yes, so that was definitely a challenge when we first started creating the video. And one of the first steps that we did during this project is to create the script. So we really had an idea of how much time we had allotted to this analogy, and then working closely with Griffin and Kate, we kind of devised that, okay, like if we create a split screen and then have the mini map, it will convey all these things at the same time during the same duration. And it was really important to make sure that everything was to scale when we were zooming in and zooming out. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Rachel, you mentioned scale too, in terms of with the FDUs. How does that, what kind of concern does that play in the work that you do, Rachel, and Heidi as well, in terms of navigating between scales? Rachel, I remember we were doing a little bit on the Scrolly, and of course the Scrolly telling has the two cells who like interact with things, and they're huge, you know, and you just kind of gently reminding us, like, keep in mind that if they approach a tissue sample, it's got to be huge to them. They can't just hold it up, so
Right.
but how is that like a challenge in what you do?
Gosh, I think it's such a general problem in medical illustration too. We are always thinking about scale. It's very hard to make things really accurate in a way. Like so I'll just kind of lay out the thinking. From an illustration standpoint, you're trying to show relationships, which can be very, very difficult if you've got something that's 1,000th of the size of the other thing, and they have to be in the story together, you know, like those two characters, the two cellular characters. Well, if they're looking at a tissue block, it's like a skyscraper. They're a tiny little piece of the block. And so it's something that we're always struggling with, how to take the right kind of licenses and how to give enough clues that lead back to accuracy. So we end up using tricks, which I'm sure you've all seen, little, you know, showing zoom boxes and call outs and insets and labeling. So it's just always, it's always a concern, right? When we're talking relationships and when we're talking accuracy, which we are in medical illustration. So it's
Right. I just wanted to swing past on this here.
Do you want to pull one of those up, Todd? Is that part of
Yeah,
this?
that's what I'm trying to do.
I know. I
I'm trying to
haven't
be
seen
all
them.
cool about it, but
recently.
like I can't. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oops. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. So I can see these are our functional tissue unit screens. So even within this set for HubMap, we solved. This is kind of an evolving process, and the one I'm finishing up now, the hair follicle, is kind of the biggest one we've ever done. So even we're solving bigger and bigger scale problems in different ways. So you can see, like starting over on the left, these are real easy to do, right? You can see every cell. It's pretty clear. The relationships are pretty, it looks like pretty standard medical illustration. As you start getting into the next slightly, you know, the next category over to the right, things are starting to get a little bit bigger. There are bigger cell types in there that kind of take over visually from some of the smaller cell types. Once you start talking, like, you know, if you look at the alveolar parenchyma, all of a sudden you're starting already to see a problem with scale. You've got some cells that are much larger than the smaller cells, and they all have to be visibly, you know, accessible in the same illustration. As we're getting over into the liver and the thymus, you know, we're just trying to figure out what to do to show an accurate picture of these, the cellular content of the functional tissue units, and some kind of information about the relationships, which I'd never done an illustration like these black and white ones before, but it turned out to be a really good, I think, solution for this project, in that it kind of strips down a lot of the visual noise. If you're looking at histology, you can't tell how many cells are in that slice. But this is, and you know, it's obviously it's not maybe this is a lot of counting if you really want to know how many cells are in these slices. But I think it's a more visually accurate picture by pulling out, this is actually, I'm illustrating the nuclei in each section to give an idea of cell size, cell distribution, and cell count. And then if you look at these pieces on the Interactive Explorer, we're looking at insets to kind of magnify some of those. And I don't think this is interactive, but those bigger scale pieces have to interact differently. So it's always a problem we're solving at different scales.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, how about you? How do scale considerations play a part in the work that you do?
It's much more straightforward than what Rachel and Ushma have to deal with, because I'm only modeling what can be seen with the human eye. So that, you know, limits how many anatomical structures can be in the model. For the nature cover, though, I was tasked with including the cellular and the gross anatomy. So the textures in the models, or in the anatomy, yeah, like in the liver, those that texture is cellular slides from a liver, or histology slides from a liver, and then the same with the heart and the lungs, everything. I tried to only take slides that were from that organ. So yeah, that kind of, I mean, I don't think, you know, if you do that kind of work, maybe you'd be able to recognize that, but but it was intentional that I wanted it to kind of include the cellular aspect with the organ. But yeah, otherwise with my models, they're just mainly the gross anatomy. I did model like a glomerulus, but you can't register. The tissue samples are all physical, so you're not going to register at like the microscopic level. Although maybe you can. I don't know. I guess that's a challenge for another day.
Right.
But yeah.
So I wanted to ask, this is a question for all three of you. So it strikes me, I guess I didn't put this together until this time. I don't know why, but you all are graduates of the UIC biomedical visualization program. What is in the water at University of Illinois Chicago that produces such talented
It's a
illustrators? Yeah.
organized crime ring, Todd.
What's
We're-
that?
It's an organized crime organization, and we take all the jobs.
Yes, yes.
We do have more graduates, or did in the past, than some of the other programs. So it was a coincidence that Heidi and I interviewed. We actually interviewed for one job. At the time, it was one position full time. They were looking to hire someone, I think. And Cotty so wisely interviewed both of us and said, "Why don't we hire both of you part time, which worked much better for both of us." So that was coincidental, but then she got to ask the question, who else do you know? And of course we know other medical illustrators, but we right away said, like, there are plenty of talented people from UIC that we would love to bring on, and new Ushma too. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's very fun.
Is there something about the program that you appreciate in the way that it structures the structure of its studies, or how it goes about giving people qualifications, or something about the program itself that you really think is unique and strong?
I'm not sure about unique, but I loved that we took so many classes in the medical college. It was really felt like a split to me. The way I described that program, it was like a half of a medical education and then half of an apprenticeship, kind of learning all the skills, learning the trade from medical illustrators. I really thought about it that way. I know a lot of the schools are structured in the same way, but I really appreciated that it felt like an apprenticeship, like learning a trade.
Yeah.
Does
I'd
that
say
accord with your experiences? Yeah.
one of the other unique things is that each student was able to pick their track in terms of, like, if they wanted to do more 3D modeling or 3D animation or 2D or game design. And so that really helped every student kind of specialize in their own track that they were headed towards after their studies. And we were even able to take independent studies with certain professors who, like, were very specialized. For example, I took a data visualization independent study with one of the professors, and yeah, that was the best part of my education, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Heidi?
Yeah, I think the program has changed a lot since Rachel and I are in it.
Yes. That's the other piece.
Yeah, it was like 15 years ago.
Don't
So
say that.
sorry, it was yesterday.
Probably longer for me, yes.
Yeah, but the technology has changed so much since I was in grad school. But when I was in UIC, it was kind of known for being more cutting edge technology, I think, than the other programs. So that was kind of a draw for me. I was really interested in like augmented reality at the time. And my research project was about that. So yeah, I like that. But I know now because I work there for the same college, I know that their computer lab is completely updated from what we had, and the instructors are all different, and they're wonderful. I've taken some classes lately, and they're just amazing instructors, and they offer classes that I wish I could have had when I was in grad school. So yeah, it's a great program, great college. UIC is great. So was I you.
Excellent.
But
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. Yeah. And this ties in. We have a question from Nicole, and she was wondering what advice you would give to someone wanting to get into this field. Are there more pathways into the field than there were when you started off, or maybe, yeah, how would you get into it, and how has it changed too?
I talk a lot to students. I get approached by students often. And I'm getting a little bit into teaching as well, which is interesting because the field has changed so much, you know, so students are still learning traditional skills. You still have to know how to draw. You still have to know how to, in a way, right? All of our education was teaching us how to think and how to keep learning. So giving you that kind of like basis of skill level, basis of information. But the thing I love about medical illustration, and the thing that can be frustrating to some people, is you really are always learning. You're always, every project for freelancers is learning some new technology or so keeping up with a new procedure or new research. The technology changes so fast. It's it. But there are a lot more entry points, I think, into the field than there used to be. When I started, it really was mostly people who went, you did this kind of undergraduate training, it was science or art, and then you did this kind of graduate certificate, and then you got certified by, you know, we're all board certified and professional members of our organization, the Association of Medical Illustrators. And that was kind of the path at the time to coming in. And then you would get your entry level into a studio, and then you would freelance. I mean, there was just kind of, it used to be more a set path. And now I talk to people who come in from all different backgrounds. There are animators who are learning about science, or they're scientists who want to make better presentations or do data, you know, data visualization is a huge thing. The technology piece really changed it, I think, in that people will often come in from tech now and come in that, like, so there's the channels that feed. I know some people who are coming in without formal education, but who are really good in technology or who are really good in certain things. So I think the advice that I give is really tailored to each student and figuring out, or each person I talk to, because there's a path from wherever you're coming in now.
Right. And didn't you all have kind of like different emphases in terms of some were maybe more had their foot in the art world more than the science, and so it seems like the three of you are a good representation. Heidi, and what would you add anything to that if you were advising someone who's wanting to do what you do?
I guess I would be hesitant to, well, I don't know.
You can say it, Heidi.
Oh boy.
I didn't want to go there, but you should say it.
Yeah, I know, that's first place. So the field is difficult. There's, you know, the job opportunities fluctuate. AI is a thing, and it's probably more of a thing for, I'm, you know, a graphic designer and web designer for UIC, and it's probably more of a thing for that job than for medical art. And by thing, I mean taking over the work. But so yeah, I would be hesitant going into any art field right now because of AI, and I don't know where it's going to go. I think, you know, that's part of the reason why I mean, I love pottery, but I love that a computer can't do it and that I have to use my hands to do it. So, you know, yeah, those are things to consider. I think now that I did not consider at all when I was going into this field.
It was different when we were coming through. It just was very different.
Very different. Yeah.
I'm always very honest with students. It's just different. It's different considerations now. It is harder in many ways that are important, and the jobs are different too.
And I'd say it's starting to get a lot more saturated too. And so it's really important to find your niche, like especially as freelancers for us, like we really need to think about how we want to market ourselves and what kind of work we're going to do. Not only what kind of work, but what kind of stylization we add to our work that really sets us apart from other freelancers or agencies, and like why clients would come to us.
You in our last interview 2 years ago, I brought up AI with like 2 minutes of the panel left to go, and I found that was sort of a dirty trick. And so, but I'm glad that you brought it up. And it seems that if I remember, Rachel, your response at the time was sort of like cautiously watching, right? That you're watching that there's opportunities, there's also some potential for negative effects. That was 2 years ago. What is the situation like now? Has it changed as rapidly as I suspect it has, or what's going on in that field? And this question is for all three of you, so feel free to chime in.
You know, I'm still cautiously watching, and I see a lot of super positive applications in the science world. I see things like, I was just talking with someone here who their local team is working on a cancer I don't know how to call it, a cancer. It's almost like its own large language model AI system, because now the way that research institutes kind of codify the cancer diagnoses, they're all proprietary, a lot of them, of the big institutes. So there's an initiative, say, to standardize a lot of these things that are happening in science and medicine, and then feed AI data points that allow research to move forward. I think there's just huge opportunity for good in science. I think the concern for artists, it's so hard because there's a lot of positive to it too, right? Those AI tools makes it very easy for people to make art, to make visuals. A lot of it's very positive, that, you know, but the impact on scientifically accurate illustration and it's kind of decimating the good that we do, the good that we bring. That's really a necessary thing. It kind of makes it harder to see through the noise, the value that a human illustrator will bring to a problem solving, I think. And I have been looking at the job market for different reasons over the last couple of years for full-time work. Again, part of it's just advising students and teaching, spending more time teaching. The jobs are very different, and I would say not in a positive way. I'd say people are being hired now to do marketing and to do social media and pushing out messaging, which is all very important. But they're not being hired to illustrate and animate research. They're not being hired to, you know, the dollars now are being spent in a way that's much more about storytelling, but not in a way that tells the story scientifically, if that makes any sense. It's a bigger kind of conversation, I think, about what's happening when you look at a set number of dollars that an organization has. What are they doing with it creatively? It's a different choice now. And I don't particularly want to be a marketing expert, so I could talk about this forever. I don't know. I'm sure Heidi and Ushma, you all have things to say about it, but it's a really interesting problem as a creative person.
Do you have anything to add to that, Heidi or Ushma, from your perspectives?
I can just talk about it for another 20 minutes if you want.
And maybe how does it facilitate illustration work? Might be like, what are the pros of AI for the field?
So
I mean, there are a lot. Go ahead, Ushma. Sorry.
yeah, I would say that even at the AMI conference this year, there are several AI related talks, and I think the silver lining was that as artists, we are still optimistic that we can use it into our workflows, like back in the day when photography happened. Live painters were a bit like their jobs were threatened, right? But that like added another aspect to art, the same way when Photoshop and Illustrator and all these softwares came to light. And so now it's a matter of using AI to help with our work, whether it's like during storytelling, like for script writing, for animation, or for research related. It's not that accurate yet for research, but even for style frame developing or just like ideas for visual, like using like art AI to kind of conceptualize things and then like add it into your story. I think there is space to be optimistic about it as well.
Yeah, and I think I was maybe more concerned like a year ago. It seems like it isn't growing as fast this year as I thought it would, because the first couple years it came out. Although I also haven't been paying as close attention because it was scaring me, and I'm like, I don't need this. It will come or it won't. What can I do? So Rachel probably knows more than I do because I know she pays attention. But like, I know they can, the AI can make models now, like 3D models. But can it make a detailed heart model? No. So will it ever get there? A year ago, I probably would have said yes, definitely. And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if there's enough of a demand for people to develop that in that direction, or I don't know. Yeah.
In like a broader scape too, like in the art world in general, I think like AI will be really helpful for more like stock footage or like quick illustrations or animations for like websites or other material, but I think there's room for people like us to tell like customized, humanized stories that like I don't think AI will ever like be able to do, because like at the end of the day, like if we're incorporating like branding into like an animation, right? Like we need a human to think about these things and craft a story in a way that's like very catered to like the client. And it's kind of like Hollywood, like movies, no matter how many like how much AI writes scripts for movies, like we still need human vision and storytelling for any art form and video creation.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. There's one more question here that will take us out on kind of a note of looking to the future. And that is, Heidi asks, what future illustration project would you most like to work on? I guess like to work on, or something that's coming up that you're really excited about. What's in your future?
A really good question. I continue to love things that I can make with my hands. I still do a lot of sketching by hand. I still do a lot of one of the positive things for me about AI is I see a resurgence of clients wanting pen and ink work, colored pencil work. Like there is always kind of a move towards coming away from a trend that's happening, which I really just always enjoy using my hands. More of that.
Heidi, how about you?
Yeah, I think it would be, I've never thought of it till now, but I think doing like a full scale installation, like a big, I don't know, Patty, maybe we can do this, that would explain some, like some complex thing like the HRA, like what we're trying to achieve, and it would be kind of editorial, but also you could still learn from it. And of course, sculptural, because I like the 3D, like some wall installation, or I don't know. I think that would be really, really fun to work on, or even like a museum exhibit, like thinking about holistically how people like come into the space and experience and how that conveys different ideas. That would be a thrill. I also really like the med legal work that I've done lately. That's really fun, different challenge. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. We should talk, because as we're moving into the third decade of the Places and Spaces exhibit, the exhibit that I helped curate, we're wanting to move to installations and participatory pieces and interactive pieces, and so something like that would definitely pique our interest. So, Ushma, how about you? What's in the future?
Yeah, so as the year's closing, I've been kind of thinking from a bigger standpoint of like what direction I want to go in with my work. And I've been thinking a lot about the art direction and like my style and how it's developed over the past few years. And so I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is utilizing more interesting look and feel development for animations, and having something like an example is using like paper cutout type of style to like illustrate a story, as opposed to like just doing like I'm so used to doing like the subsurface scattering kind of look, where it's like really nice translucent materials on molecular models, and like I'm trying to broaden my horizons and kind of think outside the box to like incorporate like more surreal or more things that are in real world that we see at like that molecular scale. So that's just something I've been like thinking about.
These are all great projects and great ambitions. Truly, thank you so much for joining me here. And this was a wonderful panel. I'm so glad I had a chance to talk with you. They didn't mention it themselves, but these are all award-winning artists, and they've all won awards for things they've worked on for the Human Reference Atlas. And the video that you saw was also a Pixie Award winner. So we're really thrilled to have you all, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Todd, and thank you everybody else after these first 2 hours.